Today we are going to be doing a little bit of hypothetical matchmaking, and we're going to be breaking down who, in my personal opinion, is the best striker and grappler for each of the divisions in the UFC, and we're going to be matching them up against each other and seeing who would win hypothetically. Now again, my opinion's involved here, so let me know in the comments below who you would fill in these slots, but I'm going to be picking from one from each division here that is non-champion. I didn't want to include the champion here, so it's only going to be non-champion fighters because I found that a lot of the matchups were repetitive or stuff we've already seen. It's just like, we're not here for any of that, you know what I mean? So just starting off with the first one we got here, man, and I'm going to go with the Bantamweight division here. O'Malley is who I'm going to represent for the strikers. I know it's going to be controversial. Hold your breath. Don't start jamming your keyboard, jabroni, all right? And then we got Umar Nurmagomedov for the grapplers here. Now, overall, I'd probably lean towards Umar to win this one. I'm going to explain myself, but I got to justify putting O'Malley in the striker spot first, okay? I understand that all the hardcores are going to tuck up your glasses, and I get that, and you're going to say Petr Yan or the Murad or Corey Sandhagen. I love Sandhagen, by the way, but listen, in my personal opinion, I'm going to stand my base here, and I do think that O'Malley is the best striker for just going off of striking alone. I think O'Malley is the best technical striker in the division. Like, he's a sniper, he's precise, he's got good pop behind his shots, he's got good finishing ability, but also technical ability as well, and good cardio to maintain it throughout 5 rounds. I think he won that first and third round against Yan, and I understand it's a really close fight, and you can give the fight to Yan and argue he's the best striker purely in the UFC, but I'm going to stay with O'Malley here. But yeah, O'Malley versus Umar, I really feel like Umar Nurmagomedov, you could argue he's purely the most well-rounded fighter for the division because some people would put him in the best striker spot. I wouldn't, me personally. I think he looked great on the feet against Corey Sandhagen. I think he looked, all right in those early rounds against Murad, but even Murad was landing big, nasty hooks on him, you know what I mean? And I guess Murad is kind of a common opponent that these two share, and they both, gave Murad arguably his toughest fights, so, that's something that they have in common here, but in kind of different ways. Like, O'Malley was kind of sneaky with it and landing like these sneaky shots in the 5th round and almost took him out of there and shit like that, whereas Umar was really starting strong out the gate and then kind of started to die out, and really Murad's cardio overtook him and just the dominance with the takedown defense and just the infinite gas take, you know what I mean? So O'Malley's striking, like I was saying earlier, he has good finishing ability to go with the technique, so I feel like he'd be able to find all the right shots against Umar. I feel like he'd really be able to piece him up, find a good in-between of maintaining the distance but getting it in the pocket when he needs to get it fucking dirty. And Umar is very aware on the feet as well. Like, he has good defense but also knows how to fucking put the foot on the pedal to the goddamn metal and get after it with the gas and move forward. You know, he's a solid pressure fighter in his own right. So Umar would probably be able to hold his own on the feet enough. It all depends on how is his chin against the power against O'Malley, because Murad's going out there and out fucking striking him, but he doesn't have the striking or the power that O'Malley does. So O'Malley, if he's able to really find that right shot, and we got to see Umar, he is beatable now. He does have that 17-1 now on his record, so he is beatable. He's human. He bleeds red just like the rest of us, and Murad went out there and proved it. So O'Malley really could find all the right shots, and if his takedown defense holds his own, and if his defensive grappling, which I think is honestly pretty underrated, if it's able to hold his own against Umar, I think that we could see a knockout. But Umar, man, I think, speaking of the grappling, there's a reason I put him here as the best grappler for the division. Just going out there, and yeah, it's easy to go out there and fuck up a bunch of cans on the come up, but it's just like to do that against Sandhagen and to make it competitive against Murad in the early goings in the fight, and we all know how good Murad's wrestling is and how credible it is. So I feel like that says a lot, man. So I feel like Umar will be able to pick up Sean and put him down a few times. It's good old daggy wrestling, you know what I mean? And it's very, very efficient, especially with a good team behind him. So I think that he'd be able to for sure get Sean O'Malley down, especially throughout a majority of 5 rounds. But I think that the Corey Sandhagen fight and the Murad fight as well, it's an indicator of how his wrestling is going to do against very high level guys in general, because I think Umar isn't just some kind of Khabib. I think he's more so of a well-rounded fighter. I feel like he's a lot more comfortable on the feet than a guy like Khabib was. I feel like Khabib was solely someone who wanted to take the fight to the ground. Like, yeah, he could hold his own on the feet, but Umar just seems so much more comfortable up there, you know what I mean? And with that is a double-edged sword, because yeah, it makes him the most well-rounded fighter for the division, but it also means his wrestling, I don't think, is as dominant as a guy like Khabib was. So Umar, man, he'll be able to get Sean down a few times, but I think that Sean, again, has underrated takedown defense and defensive grappling to the point where I don't think Umar would get him out via sub unless he's really, really hunting for it, or unless O'Malley's just gassing out of there. I don't know, but yeah, I would lean towards Umar regardless to just win the fight based off of points, but I gotta see how O'Malley does against Murad. I feel like that, in the rematch at least, I feel like that's gonna be a very big indicator of how he would do against a guy like Umar, you know what I'm saying? Because if he goes out there and looks great defensively on the ground against Murad, shuts down a lot of the takedowns. We heard Murad saying like, hey, I am having a hard time getting motivated for this fight. Sean O'Malley gonna go and shut down all of my takedowns. That's what everybody fucking loves to hear. But if O'Malley really does do all that and then knocks him out, it's going to be a great indicator of how he would do against Umar. So leaning towards Umar for now, but O'Malley could totally fucking do it. We'll see how each of their next fights go. But moving on to the next one, man. This one I'm going to make a bit short and sweet. It's for the light heavyweight division here. Alex Pereira, I think, is purely the best striker for the division. And then, I mean, really, there's no grapplers for the division, especially now that Big Ink is the champ, and I can't include him here. I mean, we're really dealing with basically Prochazka or Blachowicz, if anything. And I'm going to make the argument that Prochazka, other than Big Ink, we're not including him, is the best kind of grappler here for the division. It's crazy to say because Prochazka is way much more of a striker than anything. I mean, yeah, he's submitted to Shera, and yeah, he's good on the ground in general, offensively and defensively, but he's more of a stand and bang kind of fighter. That's more of something he just has in his back pocket, you know what I mean? But if I had to include anybody, I guess it has to be Prochazka. Like, I'm not going to put Blachowicz in here. I feel like I could argue that Prochazka just has higher abilities on the ground, you know what I mean? So, I mean, this will be a goddamn trilogy. We've already seen how this fight would go. I mean, honestly, I feel like as Pereira gets up there more in age and becomes more beatable, and as Prochazka, you know, people forget, man, but he's still really in the middle of his prime. He's still in his early 30s. We're going to get a lot more of Prochazka, but he's only had 7 fights in the UFC. He's going to be like one of those Anthony Smiths or like Alexander Volkov's gone right. Like, he's actually getting all these fights, all this experience. He has like 30 or 40 plus pro fights already, and he's going to be around the UFC for a long time. But I feel like Prochazka is actually going to just keep being in the title picture and eventually win the belt again, you know? But we saw how this fight went, man. Pereira knocked him out twice. And I feel like, again, if this fight were to happen right now, probably would go Pereira, man. But as years go on, like even in like a year or two from now, like I'd probably go with Prochazka, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like he has all the skills to get it done, and he's kind of like a Holloway and Whitaker situation where he's kind of the clear best second or third guy in the division, but just can't beat the champ. So these are two stand and bang fighters, man, you know what I mean? And Pereira showed that he has great takedown defense, a guy like Big Ink, you know what I mean? He went and shut down all 11 or 12 of Big Ink's takedowns, so I feel like that speaks volumes, you know what I mean? So I feel like, I mean, it can't go wrong with Pereira here. He already beat Prochazka twice, but I had to include this fight because it's fucking just something. So moving on to the next one here, man, to the middleweight division here. Now, here's the fucking thing, you guys. I'm going to put Sean Strickland as the best striker here, and I'm going to put Khamzat Chimaev, of fucking course, there's no argument here, as the best grappler. Now, for Sean Strickland to be the best striker, you would think that you could put Adesanya, you could even put Imavov, but here's the fucking thing, you guys. I'm going to go to war for you guys. Sean went out there, and he outstruck Adesanya, pieced him the fuck up, even got a crazy knockdown in there. So Strickland overall, I feel like he went out there and say what you want about, oh, the technical ability, just going out there, and Adesanya, he's so precise, he's like someone we've never seen before. But at the end of the day, Strickland went out there and he fucked him up on the feet, purely on the feet. It's not like Sean was going out there and having a well-rounded performance and mixing up the takedowns. Sean fucked up Adesanya on the feet, and he went out there and he smoked Imavov as well, and a total just kind of masterclass on a 2 weeks notice of a fight, you know what I mean? So it was a relatively close fight, but Sean went out there and whooped Imavov. So at the end of the day, I'm going to represent Sean as the best striker here. No offense to any of these other guys, but it's just like, I don't even want to really have Sean Strickland as the best striker for the division, but I can't deny, man, the boxing is so there. I know that he focuses a lot more on the defensive side of things than offense, you know what I mean? But I can't deny the skill set, you know what I mean? He went, and the results are there. So Strickland versus Chimaev, this is a fight that you would look at on paper and just think Chimaev's going to go out there and just submit him in 2 rounds, you know what I mean? And I'd agree with you, all right? I can't even fucking lie. Like, I'm somebody who, I think DDP's going to go out there and beat Chimaev. That's been my prediction for a while now. I think DDP has all the tools to get it done. And then the beating Sean in the rematch by 50-45 and, you know, almost take him out of there in the 4th. And Sean's a hard guy to finish, you know what I mean? I feel like that said a lot. So, Chimaev, I definitely think that I think DDP has great finishing ability. I feel like he's always hunting for the finish. I feel like he's very well-rounded, very dangerous on the ground and on the feet. But Chimaev, I feel like his finishing ability is just, I feel like it's just so much more urgent and present, and you know what I mean? Like, it comes at a gas tank problem. It's a double-edged sword, but Chimaev would really be hunting for the finish against Strickland and just throwing balls to the wall and caution to the wind. So he would just say fuck it and go in head first. And honestly, Strickland does have underrated takedown defense, underrated grappling in general. Like, he was going out there, and you want to talk about the Imavov fight, he was taking down Imavov, who's the motherfucking #1 contender of the war right now. So Sean Strickland definitely is solidly well-rounded. I just don't think he uses that part of his game really ever. I mean, you see takedowns here and there, but I feel like it's 1 in every like 4 or 5 of his fights at this point. You know what I mean? So Strickland has that in his back pocket, you know, especially on the defense side of things. It's hard to take down Strickland, or let alone just keep him down there for long, but Chimaev, he's just something different on the ground. I feel like he's just something so explosive and relentless and just so efficient. You know, we've seen it against guys, basically everybody besides like maybe Burns and Usman, and even then, you know, went out there and 10-8'd Usman in the first round, shit like that. So Chimaev's grappling is undeniable. Strickland's defense down there is good enough to where I don't think he would just get completely fucked up in the first round or two. You know what? I'll give Strickland past the first round or two. I know I was laughing out there and agreeing with that because I feel like when I envision this fight, that's what I see. But honestly, I'll put respect on Strickland. I'll say he lasts maybe like that third or fourth round. He does have... fuck, dude. I just remembered that he took out Whitaker in like a literal round. All right, I'm going back, Chad. I'm going back. All right, I'm going to go with Chimaev. He has taken out Strickland in like the first couple of rounds. Oh my God, no disrespect to Strickland, but I mean, I put Strickland and Whitaker's wrestling and just in general, offensively and defensively, around the same ballpark. You know what I mean? So if Chimaev went out there and fucked him up like that, say whatever you want. It was just the jaw, man. It was the jaw. Chimaev's power on the ground is undeniable, and his finishing ability as well. So Strickland is underrated. His skill set in general, I feel like he can definitely piece up Chimaev on the feet. Chimaev has underrated striking, but Strickland, I feel like, you know, if he doesn't want to focus so much on the defense and he wants to just really go the fuck after it with the pressure, you know what I mean, just hunt after it, especially knowing Strickland, if he wants to go out there and he's talking a bunch of shit in the build-up and there's a little bit of that extra just motivation to get after it, get the fuck after it in the fight, I feel like then that would do wonders for him. So maybe we could see this be a heated scrap. I feel like it definitely would be if it did go down with the build-up. But yeah, Strickland would move forward and try and dictate the flow and the pace of the fight, but I feel like Chimaev's presence would just be too much. He'd be picking him up and taking him down. And I know that I said that Strickland is pretty good at getting back up efficiently and quickly, but I don't know against the wrestling of Chimaev. So I'd be going with Chimaev here, man. So moving on, up next now, man, to the lightweight division. So we're going to be doing Max Holloway, hey, you know, it is what it is, better, versus Charles Oliveira, bro. This is an amazing scrap. This was the fight I was kind of hoping that they would go with. I think that Holloway, I know that he hasn't even really had too many fights at lightweight in general, but I feel like it's fair to say if I'm comparing him to Poirier, if I'm comparing him to Gaethje, if I'm comparing him to, I mean, Oliveira, I mean, Hooker, like these are the best guys, or the best strikers, I should say, in the division. And I feel like that Holloway went out there and he 49-46 Gaethje, who I just put in that argument, you know what I mean? So, and then he knocked him out. So Holloway, I know not too many fights, and you know, you could say that, oh, he's already lost to Poirier, but get the fuck out there, all right? He's gonna go beat him in July, watch. So Holloway, I'm gonna argue, is the best striker for lightweight, and you can't deny, with all the submissions, with all the finishes, all the experience, with how good he's looked on the ground, Charles Oliveira is the best grappler. I feel like that this fight is just a stylistic dream. These are two fan favorites. Holloway is the best volume striker and the highest output in UFC history, so that's undeniable. But Oliveira, with how much his striking has improved in the past few years, man, and especially the power that's been just suddenly unlocked for this dude, and now he just has that in his back pocket. Oliveira has the power to really knock out a guy like Max Holloway. He has the finishing ability, the fight IQ, and the pressure to honestly get it done, or even just get Holloway down to the point where it's like, I don't think he'd be able to submit him. I think he'd be able to take down Holloway a few times, but if he's not submitting Chandler, I don't think he's going to be submitting Holloway. Holloway has underrated takedown defense. It's like 85% or something. So in general, like Holloway has underrated defensive grappling, underrated takedown defense. I know Topuria got him down a couple of times, but Topuria's elite on the ground as well. You know, I'm not denying that Oliveira wouldn't be able to get down Holloway, but I just think that Holloway would overall not be able to get submitted. I feel like he would make the most out of the exchanges on the feet when they would last up there. You know what I mean? Like Chandler just kind of like got coasted and was trying to be patient when he fought Oliveira in the rematch, and then like he would hold his own on the feet for a minute or two, get taken down, and then was just trying to not get submitted for the rest of the round. You know what I mean? Holloway, like, I feel like would just be able to make more of a presence on the feet with the time he had and be able to more efficiently get back up, or just, you know, not just be afraid of getting submitted the entire fight. Now, don't get me wrong, Oliveira will be very hungry to aim for the submission here. I feel like he would just be completely dialed on that's his path to victory. That's how he is in a lot of his fights. But Holloway, man, he's very aware of everything. He has good fight IQ. He has a lot of experience as well. Both these guys do, but Holloway more so is just in his prime here. I'd be going with him to overall win this fight. I feel like Oliveira, like I said, he has the power to get it done on the feet, and he could hold his own on the feet for sure, but he's going to be so much more comfortable taking this fight to the ground. Holloway, I could see winning this one via some kind of decision, just overall outpointing him, outstriking him, making the most of the right shots, if that makes sense. And I just can't see Oliveira getting a submission here, and I feel like if he's going to beat Holloway, it'd be via submission, you know? So I'm going to be going with Holloway on this one, but very, very close fight to predict if this one did go down, you know what I mean? But moving on to the next one here, bro. For the flyweights, I'm going to be going with Manel Kape representing the strikers and Tetsuro Taira representing the grapplers. grapplers. Now, you could easily put Brandon Moreno in here for the strikers, you know what I mean? Or even the Marauder Amir Albazi for the grapplers, but I'm going to be going with Cobb versus Tara. Cobb is just something different lately on the feet, man. And the thing that convinced me from not putting Moreno in here is that if I was going to match up Cobb and Moreno, I would go with Cobb to win. And I feel like it would be via like a knockout or just a decision of Cobb piecing him up on the feet. So I feel like ultimately that's what made me choose this. So Cobb versus Tara is actually a pretty good scrap. I mean, honestly, I'd be going with Cobb to win this one. Now, don't get me wrong, Tara could get it done, but I just feel like it's an experience thing with Tara. We know how good his grappling is, and I feel like it could take him very far for the flyweight division especially. But the thing is, man, Royval was able to go out there, and I know Royval is very well-rounded, you know, very underrated resume, this guy. That sounds like something Trump would say, like, very underrated resume, this guy. But in general, I feel like Royval was able to go out there and just show that this is how the fucking Raw Dog plays. You know what I mean? He was able to go out there and just win a close decision and kind of just pieced him up on the feet and showed that Tyra kind of has to wait a couple more years before he's getting these like #1 contender spots. You know what I mean? The grappling is so there for Tyra, but I feel like he's not able to hold his own on the feet enough, or just doesn't have enough experience. You know, he's kind of lacking pop behind his shots, to where I feel like Cobb would just overall, Cobb has so much more experience, especially against high level talent. You know, Tyra's best win is I think like Alex Pereira off the top of my head, and I feel like if you're going to compare that to Cobb, who's fought the champion Alexander Pantoja before, granted it was a long time ago, but you know what I mean? Like, Cobb's been around, and especially in other promotions at the highest level, and I feel like Cobb would go out there and just piece up Tyra on the feet. I know that Royval was able to go out there and outstrike Tyra, but it went to the distance. You could argue Cobb would be more so kind of hunting for the finish and be able to actually take him out there via some kind of TKO or knockout. So Cobb, he's a great pressure fighter. I feel like he would just be completely moving the fuck forward, you know, doing all that ultra instinct bullshit. You know, his hair is going to start fucking glowing silver, and then the dun, 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 like all that bullshit. But no, man, I honestly feel like I would give this one to Cobb here. Tyra just needs more experience and just kind of needs to prove himself more at the upper level. I feel like he's going to be dangerous and has championship worthy material in a few years, but as of right now, I can't just go off of just his grappling alone. Like, he needs to become more well-rounded to hold his own against a guy like Cobb or Moreno or Royval. That upper echelon, you know what I mean? He's got good takedown entries. He's got slick submissions, but against a guy like Cobb, he's too defensively sound on the ground down there. You know what I mean? Cobb's takedown defense is good. I mean, even against his last opponent, I'm blanking on the name off the top of my head, but that was a guy who I thought had a lot of takedown threats for him and was going to be able to, you know, give maybe some problems to Cobb on the ground, but Cobb went out there and fucking took his O, and now here we are. So Cobb has no problem beating undefeated fighters. He has no problem beating grapplers. Like, he has a ton of experience. I feel like he would do the same to Tatsuro Taira here. So moving on up next now, man, to the welterweight division. Obviously, I'm going to go with Sean Brady here. I mean, Jesus, you could put Shavkat Rakhmonov maybe for like the best grappler or something like that, but I'm not going to do that, man. Like, to go out there and dominate Leon Edwards on the ground, you know, even better than Bilal did, and to be able to be the first guy to submit Leon Edwards, I rate that very highly. So Sean Brady, and he's the #1 contender. Like, he's literally right above Shavkat right now. You know, I know the rankings aren't everything, but at the end of the day, like, I rate that win for Brady very highly, and the only guy that's ever beaten him is the champ. So I'm going to say that Brady is the best grappler, the pure grappler for the division here. And for the striker, man, this is where it gets fucking hard, because I wanted to say that it was going to be like Wonder Boy or Leon as like the best strikers, but Wonder Boy is just on the very, very tail end of his career here, and it's just like, I don't even know. Like, you know, a few years ago, people forget, man, or even like 2 years ago, you could argue like Wonder Boy, one of the best strikers in the UFC, even to that day, even in the early 2020s, like, it's just the speed was still there, the explosivity, like, he just looked so quick and swift in there, and it's like Wonder Boy still had it. And in terms of the pure striking, you could argue he still could be the best for the division. You could say the same about Leon, but Leon went out there and, you know, even he just got fucked up. So I'm gonna go with Buckley here. I'm gonna go with Joaquin Buckley. This is a controversial one, all right? I think that Joaquin Buckley kind of needs a win or two to really kind of cement this in a lot of people's minds, but like, I just don't feel as comfortable going with Wonder Boy or Leon right now. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go with Buckley here. So Buckley versus Brady is the matchup, and dude, I'm gonna go with Buckley. Okay, another one for the strikers here. The way I can explain this is that like both of them kind of are lacking something that the other one has, so it all just depends on like who can close that gap. You know what I mean? Because Buckley has solid wrestling, you know, offensively and defensively. You know what I mean? Doesn't always get the takedowns in. You know what I mean? And Covington looks solid, and Covington was able to shut down a few of his takedowns. And you know what I mean? Even Wonder Boy in the early goings of their fight, you know, Wonder Boy's got underrated takedown defense, but like, if Buckley isn't able to really do that as efficiently. I don't think he's going to go out there and be able to take down Brady, but my whole point is that Buckley's underrated on the ground. Like, he knows how to get takedowns on guys. He knows how to hold his own with the takedown defense. I feel like that Brady will be able to get him down, but not too much, man. Honestly, not that much. I feel like Buckley's going to have some stern takedown defense, and I feel like that he has, you know, the clear power advantage here on the feet, and I feel like that Buckley would be hunting for a fucking knockout, and I think that he has the power to do it. I think Buckley would be able to get a knockout. There's urgency as the fight progresses. Now, Brady, you could argue the same thing as well from what we've seen against Burns, Gastelum, and Leon and shit like that recently, but overall, man, Buckley, I think, is more so of the pressure fighter. Now, both these guys are pressure fighters in different ways. Brady more so is just able to, he's just so efficient on the ground and getting what he wants. Like, if he wants to take you down, he'll take you down. If he wants to try and aim for the submission, he's probably going to get you out of there. So it's shit like that. He's slick with it, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that to Buckley. Now, don't get me wrong, first guy, like I said, to submit Leon Edwards for Brady, that's very impressive. You could argue like, oh, Buckley is no Leon Edwards. We still have more to see out of him, but I don't know, man. I feel like Buckley, I could just see a knockout here. Brady was standing TKO'd by fucking Bilal Muhammad. Now, don't get me wrong, you could argue, oh, then why wasn't Leon able to do it? Leon just does not have the finishing ability or is nearly as much of a pressure fighter as Buckley. You know, Leon is more so that patient, technical, find you with all the right shots and win just like a kind of just paced out, sad to watch decision. You know what I mean? Buckley gets the fuck after, and I think he would do that against Brady, who has been shown to get caught. His chin is there. You know what I mean? He's finished by Bilal Muhammad. I know that's going to sadly haunt him for a lot of the next few years of his career, unfortunately, but it is what it is, man. Come on, man. That's the risk you take when you are one of the only finishes that Bilal Muhammad has, and by TKO of all things. You know what I mean? So yeah, Brady's good. He's got great wrestling. Definitely able to get down Buckley a few times. His finishing ability has been improving. Again, I rate that Leon wing highly, but at the end of the day, I think Buckley is going to prove a lot of people wrong. Maybe like a third round knockout or something like that. You know what I mean? So moving on to the next one we got here, man. Gonna be going with the heavyweight division here. Cyril Gane is who I'm going to represent for the strikers, and Jalen Almeida for the grapplers. In terms of the most well-rounded fighter that is unranked, I would give it to Alexander Volkov all day, because I think that Volkov would go out there and hold his own on the feet against Gane. He did, especially in the second fight, you know what I mean? Barely got outstruck by Gane in that second fight, and I thought he won the damn fight. I thought he got robbed, but against Almeida too, I think Volkov's wrestling would be able to hold his own against Almeida, but just purely going into each aspect here, you know what I mean? I would say Cyril Gane would represent that, and Jalen Almeida would represent as well. So how would this fight go? Gane just doesn't have shit on the ground, man. Volkov is kind of whooping him around down there, and that's how Volkov ultimately won the fight. I know we got fucking robbed, but that's really what dictated, you know, or was the difference maker in that fight. Volkov just made so many improvements since the first time he fought Cyril Gane. So Gane just doesn't have the heart in there, man. Like, I feel like he just doesn't seem like he has a lot to prove. He's just out here making movies and shit, and it's like, I get you could have a life outside of the cage, and just like, I want people to go out there and live your life. Go do shit, man. But when I see Gane fighting once a year and the performances he's doing, it's just like he's only fighting 4 titles or in France, and when it's not that, he's losing, you know what I mean? So, you know, Almeida, he did get finished by blades. You know, he can put himself in dangerous positions, but for the most part, he doesn't lose to a lot of guys, man. He goes out there, I think he has underrated striking, and just, you know, people focus a lot on the Derek Lewis win, but if you just kind of remove that from his resume and just like how awful of a performance and a win it was, like, the dude gets great finishes, or not the most entertaining sometimes, but it's just like the dude consistently gets finishes, trying to get the bonuses, you know what I mean? It's just like on the feet and on the ground, you know what I mean? But in terms of just the pure grappling, Almeida would be able to just, I feel like, fuck up Gane, man. If Volkov did that to Cyril Gane, and that, I can imagine what a guy like Aspinall or John Jones would do to Gane on the ground. Well, we saw what John Jones did on the ground, you know what I mean? John Jones barely even fights that. I forget the fight even goddamn happened, but I feel like they're not even going to give Cyril Gane the Jalen Almeida matchup anyways, because I feel like they kind of know that this could be the possibility of Almeida getting an early submission or a mid-fight submission, or it's just very smudge fest kind of vibe, you know? Gane, he's a great volume striker. He's quick. He moves like a middleweight in there, you know what I mean? Very precise, great output and technique, but in general, I feel like Almeida would be able to just, he's able to hold his own on the feet, man, and Almeida has power up there as well, you know? I feel like you could argue that Almeida, you could argue is the more powerful striker. Gane is more so the one who has to kind of like find all the right combinations and just overload guys with volume to take him out of there, but you could argue Almeida might have more power on the feet, even though he's the better grappler here, so I'm kind of convincing myself even more. I feel like Almeida would just kind of clearly take this one, man. And it's a matchup that would scare Uncle Dana and Cyril Gane here, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, Gane can go out there and fuck him up and prove me wrong, but from what I've been seeing from Gane and from what I've been seeing from Almeida, I'm going to be going with Jalen Almeida here, man. So moving on to the last one we got here, dude. It's going to be Yair Rodriguez taking on Aljamain Sterling for the featherweights. I'm going to be going with Yair Rodriguez to represent the strikers and Aljamain Sterling for the grapplers. Now, this was a pretty tough one to do, honestly, because I feel like for the striker spot, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't include Volk, and Holloway and Topuria are fucking leaving the division, so you could put Lopez in there, but honestly, like, I think Lopez would beat Yair Rodriguez in a fight. But if I'm talking about, you could even put Gene Silva in the spot as well, honestly. But if I'm just thinking about purely just technical striking, and from what I've seen, Yair Rodriguez is an amazing striker, man. I know he's coming off of kind of a lackluster win. I don't like how he's calling for title shots, but I don't want to let that kind of shit, like, influence my judgment and who I'm kind of like. I can't deny his striking, man. I can't deny his striking. Like, it's so there. It's quick as fuck. It's dangerous. It's explosive. It's some shit I've never even seen before. It's dynamic. It's very fun to watch a lot of the time. And against Sterling, you could argue that Movsar Evloev is the best grappler for the division, but Movsar didn't win that fight against Sterling by out-wrestling him. He won that fight by piecing him up on the feet and not getting completely dominated on the ground. But if you want to watch that fight, man, like, Movsar Evloev got out-wrestled by Aljamain Sterling. So Aljamain Sterling kind of just proved to me that he's the best grappler for the division, because if it wasn't going to be Movsar, it kind of just proved himself to be Sterling. You know what I mean? So Sterling versus Rodriguez. People forget, man, Rodriguez is dangerous off his back, man. Like, he went out there and submitted Josh Emmett. So honestly, Rodriguez is underrated on the ground. I actually could see him getting a win here. Sterling does kind of leave his chin open. He does get caught. He has been finished before on the feet. So I could see Rodriguez catching him. But if Sterling is just really smart about this one, if he wants to go out there and make it a complete boring fucking fight, wants to completely make it a goddamn smudge fest, and just say fuck it to the fans or anything like that, give a big fuck you to Uncle Dana, then you know what, man? I'm going to be going with Sterling to win this one, because I feel like that Sterling, yes, he can get knocked out, and yes, he can get caught on the feet, and his striking, it's not great. I'm not going to be one of those guys that, like, Sterling has underrated striking. He's the funk master. I don't rate Sterling striking that great. I think he has pitter-patter hands. And just in general, like, it's nothing crazy on the feet. You know what I mean? I think he can hold his own against most guys, but I don't think it's going to be his route to victory a lot of the time. So Sterling, I just feel like if he could really apply the right fight IQ, be smart with it, not get himself into dangerous exchanges, and just honestly make it fucking boring. I know that I said Rodriguez is underrated on the ground, but he's nothing too crazy down there either, especially when you're going against a guy like of the Sterling or Evloev caliber. You know what I mean? So Sterling, honestly, man, say whatever you want about the guy, but I feel like he does have all the tools to beat a guy like Rodriguez here. So I'm going to be going with Aljamain Sterling to win this fight. And that is going to be it here, man, for all these kind of hypothetical matchups here, non-champion best striker versus grappler matchups. Let me know what you think in the comments below, man. I would love to hear it. Who would you fill in each of these slots? Who do you think would win these matchups? I would love to hear it, man. So I appreciate you for making it this far in the video. Let me know your comments below. All the smoke here. If you can help me get to 1,000 subscribers, it'd mean the world to me. But regardless, I appreciate you all a lot, man. So thanks so much for giving me your time and attention. I appreciate it. Have a good time watching the fights this weekend, man. I will be there at UFC Iowa, so I'm very, very excited for it. It's my first ever UFC live event. I can't wait, man. So I appreciate you all a lot. Have a good one, boys, and I will see you all next time.